April the 30th, 2025. Guys, you're looking at current images of our sun. We just had one of the largest coronal openings or holes that we've seen in quite a long time. Now we're seeing a very large sunspot turning around Earth facing. It is growing and it has dual polarities. You see the red and the blue, and what that does is give it a very good chance for solar flares. It's very large. You could put several of our planets in the blue section or the red section or the green sections around it. This is such a huge star. And it is classified as the 8th star of the Pleiades. Think about that. Anyway, and that has some different meanings for a different video. But right now, look at the size of this thing. And look at the whole scale. Now, it doesn't look like there's that much activity on the sun, but with this particular filter from the SDO, it is so intense, the filtration, that it takes a lot of energy for it to show. Now, let's take a look at 3 other cameras that are on the same satellite. Here's the large satellite. These are purple areas. That's coronal openings where there's no magnetic canopy trapping the solar wind, and it flows freely out towards our planet. There's some pretty large filaments in this, and there's that question mark right in the center that is very close to a sunspot. Again, you've got filaments, you've got coronal openings, and you've got sunspots. Here is a still shot of that very large one. Again, dual polarities. It's actually kind of a strange setup because you've got dual polarities with positives on both ends and a negative in the middle. Now, this is the teal camera, same satellite, and it has an effect that you can really see the solar flares and any kind of explosions. You can watch those kind of popping across there. And again, right in the center of this image is a big question mark that's got energy traveling through it very quickly if you watch it. That is a filament. If it releases, it is Earth-facing as we speak. Now, the sunspot coming around, again, is growing. You've got smaller flares. Check this out. It has been pretty calm for the last few days, but starting yesterday, we had 1, 2, 3, 4 flares, and the strongest one was today. They are M flares. They're not X flares. You got to get up to that red line, but there still can be. They can spit out small CMEs, which will increase solar wind, things like that. Now, the big sunspot at the top of this list is AR 4079. BG means it's dual configured and it is growing. See that? Now, it's a returning sunspot from last month, but it is still growing. So you see the other ones are green, which means they're singular polarities and they're stable. They're not growing. That one is not. Now, our solar winds currently are just a little elevated. 320s average. We're at 405 in the purple line near the bottom, and the shields are closed. Check that out. We had some openings and they'll bust through. You'll have a short break when the solar winds hit. Now, guys, as we're seeing the sun active and start to pick back up, we're going to go into a different solar cycle. But as we see that, we also see the demons, the controllers of the planet, trying to do everything they can do to block Malachi chapter 4, those healing wings, the DNA renewal project. Anyway, the geoengineers want Boeing 777s to dump sulfur into the sky, risking acid rain catastrophe. This is today, came out. It says scientists are proposing to modify Boeing 777 aircraft to spray sulfur dioxide into the stratosphere in an attempt to cool the Earth in the name of debunk so-called climate change. It makes me think, Al Gore really led this climate change initiative. Carbon taxes, the whole thing. But on the darker side of it, on the upper levels, then what we're seeing is the non-human controllers, the demons, trying to destroy our ability to connect with our Father and heal. It's exactly what is happening, and they're desperate to do it. You just cannot put a name on that much evil. One thing about demons, even though when they look like humans, they have zero empathy for other people. They don't care about human life or anything else. They don't care about telling the truth. As a matter of fact, they prefer to lie. It's because their father is the father of lies. But now, the way they're doing it, they've been doing it for a long time, but at a little higher altitude. But now let me just say it simply, The devil is raging back and forth because he knows he has but a short time. A new study published today in Earth's Future openly admits that this method, called stratospheric aerosol injection, or SAI, would sharply increase dangerous side effects like acid rain because it requires 3 times more aerosol to achieve the same cooling effect compared to previous high-altitude schemes. They're evil schemes. They're not worried about heating the planet up. You know what they're trying to do. They're trying to destroy life as we know it. And it's kind of a form of terraforming. Rather than developing new, specially designed aircraft to reach the ideal 65,000 feet altitude, researchers from University College London and Yale now propose dumping sulfur at just 42,000 feet within the existing capabilities of modified 777s. They don't want to wait to build new high-altitude planes. They don't care how they do it. The ironic catch is that at lower altitudes, sulfur particles would rain out of the sky much faster, meaning a massive increase in the amount of pollutant dumped into the atmosphere. Instead of solving anything, their plan could flood the atmosphere with even more toxic material, accelerating the very environmental destruction they claim to be fighting. The study projects injecting 12 million metric tons of sulfur dioxide per year, comparable to the volume released by the Mount Pinatubo eruption in 1991, which famously cooled the planet temporarily, but also triggered severe acid rain. In fact, the researchers admit outright that this new strategy would mean a proportionate increase in the side effects of the SAI per unit cooling, such as human exposure to descending particle matter. The new proposal to retrofit Boeing 777s to spray sulfur mirrors the large-scale atmospheric modification that anti-geoengineering expert Jim Lee shows is already being carried out daily through commercial aviation sulfur-doped emissions, sulfur in the fuel. So all of that you've been talking about, we've been talking about the chemtrails forever, all that's true. Now they want to triple down on it at a lower altitude. And the demonic strategy in this and the lies involved are very telling. When my husky said yes, you heard that in the background. So they want to burn the house down because they know their time is short. It is so evil, and they want to block the sun. So you got the reflection back up. Global warming would actually increase. Some say it would create a cloud like a blanket that traps heat on the planet. Again, terraforming, and so they're accomplishing, if it's allowed to happen at this level, they're accomplishing several things: pollution of the planet, destruction of humanity, and the blocking of the healing rays of Malachi chapter 4. And they're claiming this is a blueprint for accelerated environmental collapse. Now, they paid a lot of money to a big group of scientists to look at the effects, to run models, paid a lot of your tax money. And so they are coming back and saying, well, it's going to be disastrous if you do it, basically. Build as a shortcut because it could use existing jets instead of waiting a decade for new aircraft. The UCL Yale plan effectively opens the floodgates for rapid, poorly regulated deployment. The study concedes this alarming possibility, saying, and this is the people that did the study. This is not people that are against it. Although I think they were paid to do it, but they're saying, look, this is what we found. This could imply an increase in the number of actors able to deploy SAI, an earlier potential start date, and perhaps a greater risk of unilateral deployment. Translation: anyone with a modified fleet of cargo planes could start spraying the skies without global oversight. This echoes warnings from our past reporting. Geoengineering is being normalized as an emergency solution. It's an emergency to the demons, because they know what's coming. without serious consideration of the unintended, irreversible damage it could unleash on ecosystems, agriculture, and human health. Acid rain, after all, devastates forests, poisons waterways, and corrodes infrastructure. It does all of that. Again, terraforming and destruction. Even the authors admit that injecting sulfur at lower altitudes could be a suboptimal SAI deployment with strongly increased side effects, reduced cooling efficiency, and a more polar cooling profile. I guess like a polar ice age. Yet despite these known dangers, the plan is moving forward, with government agencies like Britain's ARIA already preparing field experiments. Britain, are you listening? Now, this is going to be worldwide. They could spray Atlantic, Pacific Oceans, and it could go around the world, you know. So you can, just like I was talking about Florida, I don't know how much good that will do other than planes flying directly over it or landing and taking off there. But how are they going to separate the sulfur out of the fuel, especially for just one state? Or, you know, so really the U.S. should get behind this, Trump and everybody, push it very hard, almost like a tariff situation as far as pressure against England to shut this down. We've got people that are aware of it, has been for a long time. And there's one of my huskies, that's one of my girls. And they want it shut down, but it's kind of a upper non-political and non-country setup. In other words, no individual country is taking credit for what we've been seeing for years and years and years. It's just everyone's doing it in the sky. So that's how long this agenda's been going on from day one, and they've denied it. And I think, what is it, Bobby Kennedy is trying to do something about it. We'll see. Again, it's an international problem, and it will have to be an international response to stop it. We're watching it, guys. That's kind of some bad news, but it's better to be aware and make sure that you put this into your plans for the future, and pray that it does not come to fruition, and pray that they stop all of it, even what's going on now, because it's terrible in some places. It's not that bad. Here, we don't have a lot of big airports in Mississippi. You got flyovers you can see, you know, going from Florida to Dallas, things like that. But they're very high, but there still has this sulfur pollution in the fuel. But we're watching it, guys. You watch it. It's a heads up. Be safe.